Good morning. It's Tuesday or Wednesday or whatever day it might be. And have you ever had one of those days? I'm having one of those days right now. One, it's currently 18 degrees outside. I live in Ohio. This morning it was as low as 11, and it's freezing here, which is why I have the hat on. I also didn't brush my hair this morning, so that might have something to do with it. But in addition to that, I was supposed to start this stream at 10 o'clock, which was 15 minutes ago. What you don't know is that I started the stream 15 minutes ago, except I never hit the stream button. And so I've been standing here talking to only myself, entertaining myself for the last 15 minutes. And it was only just now that I realized that my machine was not actually streaming anything out to all of you. So I'm here now, and we're going to start over, and we're just going to get right into this. I am working on an Alexa skill that is a Star Wars Databank. In fact, that's the name of it, Star Wars Databank. And the thing that I'm trying to do is build a skill that can answer anything that someone might want to know about the Star Wars universe. Now, there's a couple of rules that I've set for myself that may eventually change, but one of them is I want to treat this skill, for the most part, as if it is part of the Star Wars universe. So you are a character in it, and you want to know about someone else. So imagine that your only scope, your only knowledge base that you're pulling from is information that would be found in the Star Wars universe. So, for example, the idea of Mark Hamill does not exist in this world because we don't know actors. We just know that Luke Skywalker is a person and he exists. So I have information about Luke Skywalker. I have information that I can share with you about who he is and who he knows and where he's from and all of that kind of stuff. But what I don't know is who Mark Hamill is, and I don't really want to venture into that. I don't want to spend the time to create a ton of data around who played a specific character in a specific show. And I know, like, especially in Episode 7 and Episode 8, there's been a bunch of celebrity cameos that are really just stormtroopers. I know that Daniel Craig, the James Bond actor, I know that he was a stormtrooper in Episode 7, but it just feels like that's a lot of, like, I can really go into a lot of minutia and movie trivia that I'm not really interested in for this. I'm much more interested in knowing who the characters are and where they live and where they're from and what their species is and pictures of them and all that kind of stuff. So that is primarily the scope of this skill. Now, that being said, I ventured out of that a little bit. The last time we were here, I built onto the skill that allowed us to see the movie trailers for every one of the movies, or not even just the movies, but all of the properties we have. And in fact, the easiest way to show this, and in my head I've already done this because I was on here for 15 minutes just talking. But if we flip over to this everything view, you can see that I have a table of media. And in this media, these are the things that I consider the scope of our skill. So we have episodes 1 through 9. We also have the Mandalorian TV show, which, if you didn't watch last night, man, I really enjoyed that. I'm not going to spoil it. I'm not one of those people that's going to ruin a TV show for people. At some point, I'm going to start talking about it. But you've got some time. I'll give you a week or two to catch up and catch the first episode. They release it weekly, so you can't binge the whole thing. But the first episode was good. There were some nice surprises. It was a good introduction to a new character. And then we've got the Clone Wars and Rogue One and Solo and so on. So in all of these, I have a trailer for every one of them. So I've gone out, and if we click on the trailer for Episode 9, if I click on this, you can see that I have a video, and it plays automatically. I won't play this whole thing, but we can let it go for a few seconds just to see Rey run by. Right, I don't want to get blocked by Twitch. I'm not trying to stream copyrighted content or anything. I just wanted to show that this trailer exists and that we can watch it from our source. And then, of course, we can stream that directly to devices when someone requests it. But in addition to that, we also have crawls. And so the opening crawls, if we look at like Episode 8, we can open this one as well. This is a crawl video. This is where it always starts, with a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. And then we get all the music and everything, but it starts with the words flying in, right? So we have the name of the movie, or at least the saga. And then we'll have the Episode 8 roll in, and we get all the words. So again, I don't want to spend a ton of time putting this on stream, but I just want you to see that, like, we have these videos that we can use inside the skill as well. And then one of the other things that I really wanted to do was to be able to give the user a good experience regardless of their device, because we do want this to be a voice first experience. And so it's very possible that they would be using a device that does not have a screen. And in those cases, I wouldn't be able to show a video. It wouldn't do them much good. They would just hear some music. So if they ask for the trailer or for the crawl on a device without a screen, let's say this Echo Dot here. Alexa, open Star Wars Databank.
IMAL3XA, Human Cyborg Relations. How may I be of assistance?
Play the opening crawl for Episode 4.
It is a period of civil war. Rebel spaceships, striking from a hidden base, have won their first victory against the evil Galactic Empire. During the battle, Rebel spies managed to steal secret plans to the Empire's ultimate weapon, the Death Star, an armored space station with enough power to destroy an entire planet. Pursued by the Empire's sinister agents, Princess Leia races home aboard her starship, custodian of the stolen plans that can save her people and restore freedom to the galaxy. What else can I provide information about?
Stop.
Goodbye.
All right, so as you can hear there, on a device without a screen, I'm still giving the user an experience. I'm still giving them something that relates to voice and listening. And so I've taken all the words that are in those individual crawls and I've saved them as a data table value here that is voice crawl. And so this actually provides the speech that Alexa will say. And I've even provided some markup in this. So if we scroll through a little bit, you'll see that after each paragraph, I think, somewhere in here. Yeah, so you can see that I've even added some SSML breaks. So I'm adding a little bit of space between, because each crawl has 3 paragraphs, and so I wanted to provide a little bit of break in between each of those paragraphs, even though they're only a sentence or 2 long. So the way it works today is it will play the trailers, it will play the crawl videos if you have a screen, and if you don't have a screen, if you ask for a trailer, well, let's see what it'll do. Alexa, open Star Wars Databank.
IMAL3XA.
Alexa,
Human
play the trailer for Episode 4.
Your device doesn't support video, so I can't show you the trailer. How may I be of assistance?
Quit. So, as you can see there, we're in a position where we don't have video on that device. But if I flip over to this one, this is my device that's sitting here in front of me. Alexa, ask Star Wars Databank to play the trailer from Episode 4.
Luke Skywalker was just a farm boy until he received a mysterious message from a princess.
Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi. She's beautiful.
Alexa, stop.
Goodbye.
Star Wars.
You can see that I have one bug here, which is that I stopped my skill, but it's still playing the video. Alexa, quit.
Harrison Ford.
Alexa, quit. Alexa, quit.
Carrie Fisher.
Well, Alexa, go home.
That's not supported on this device.
Alec Guinness.
You can't win.
Alexa, quit.
If you strike me down.
I had 2 devices hearing me. That was the issue. So I was trying to figure out why quit wasn't working. That's the auto exit that I fully expected to work. So that is what it looks like on a device with a screen versus a device without a screen. And you can see that we're catching our states and errors and things like that, which is really, really good to do. So we're in a good position. There are definitely some more things that we need to do related to playing those videos, because one of the things that I want to have happen is once the video is done playing, I wanted to respond back to the user and be like, all right, what else do you want to do? Or do you want to see another trailer or whatever? But I don't know that I want to do that today. And so I've actually tagged this in my code already, that in here I say, respond to the user after the trailer has completed. So I have this marked as a note in my code to make sure that I do this. But for now, the thing that I was trying to do was just get it to play. Obviously, we're not going to be able to publish in the current state that it's in, but it's good enough that I've accomplished my goal, we will eventually get to the point where we'll have to clean some of these things up, which is why I leave me these to-dos. And then for my crawl, one of the things that I actually need to do, and this is something that I talked about at length on here before I actually started streaming, because sometimes I'm an idiot, is that I have this device, which I think I can hold up. This is the Echo Dot with clock that actually has the clock face on the front of it. And there is APL markup that we can use to change the words that are on the front of that display. And so it's called APLT, and so I've written myself a little helper function just to see whether or not their device supports APLT. And if it does, then I pass in this directive that says APLT render document, which is fine. And I say, this is your APL. The real trick, though, is that there's something wrong with my document here. I'm using exactly the example from the launch blog post that they had with this, and it's just not working. And I don't know why. I haven't spent a ton of time on it, so I'm sure it's something pretty obvious, but I just haven't figured out what I'm doing wrong yet. And so because of that, I've left myself another note that this doesn't actually work yet, please fix. And I'm going to reach out to the product team that actually created this to figure out what it is that I might be doing wrong, because this would be incredibly kind of cool to have the text for the crawl on a device that doesn't have a screen. I can read it to you, but I could also have it scroll across the front, which I think would be kind of a cool, neat kind of Easter egg, or if anything, not something you would expect, but something cool that we could do. So those are the things that I've done, that we did as part of our build on Monday, and I added the crawl stuff because it was very, very similar. So those things are working, and you can see that I'm calling to a field called clock crawl. And what I had to do, at least I think I have to do, is that I have a new field. This is going to have to be a new version, because if we look at APLT alphabet, I'm pretty sure... No, I didn't mean any of those things. Alexa APLT alphabet. I thought that there was a page for this. Okay, what if I just remove the word alphabet? There is only a limited alphabet that we can use for doing these. Overflow text. And I'm not finding it quickly. I thought there was a page that showed me the actual text that I can use and like the alphabet that I can use, but I'm not finding that quickly, so that's all right. APL character displays, not here. I really thought that I had a better grasp on where that was, but I do not, apparently. Here we go. Getting closer. APL reference for character displays. This is where I was. And I'm not finding it. Anyway, there's like, I think there's like 7 letters in the alphabet you can't use. It's things that have diagonals that are not reproducible otherwise. Like an X, I think, is one of the letters that you can't use. So it is a kind of a limited interface, but I still thought it would be kind of fun to do, which is why I'm not worried about spending a ton of time on it today. But we are in a position where all of our characters and all the other data that we have, this stuff all works. And this, I think this was a big accomplishment on its own, is to be able to have a list of characters and have them all respond appropriately when we need them to. So I think the next thing that I really want to do is be able to build something that prompts the user to guess what we're talking about. And I haven't really decided how I want to do this, but it's going to require a lot more data creation. So if we look at our characters here, I have, let's find a character everyone knows, like Boba Fett is a good example. So we have information, like a paragraph about the character, right? With his customized Mandalorian armor, deadly weaponry, and silent demeanor, Boba Fett was one of the most feared bounty hunters in the galaxy. A genetic clone of his father, bounty hunter Jango Fett, Boba learned combat and martial arts on and on and on. But you can see that we use his name a few times. So one of the things that I'm going to have to do is create an entire additional field that is a description of the character without using their name. And in doing that, then I could then create kind of a game within this skill that allows me to say, all right, tell me who this is. And I read the anonymous description of the character, and then I could give them hints, which are these other pieces of data, right? They were affiliated with the Alderaan royal family. You've seen them at Havoc Outpost. They're a human. They were in all of these things, the Star Wars Rebels and Clone Wars, right? I can start to give you clues. I have a whole bunch of options for clues that give you more information about what that character is. So, yeah, that's kind of one of the things that I really want to build, but it's going to require a lot of data, which I haven't written right now. So maybe that's not the thing to do today. What else would I like to do today? I guess we could do the APL for showing images. So I have an image of every character, and we could potentially get this image to show. I think that might be pretty interesting, because we'd have to come up with a design for what we want that to look like. We'd want to show their name on the screen so that all of that's clear. Yeah, I think maybe that's the thing we'll do. That feels like a good task. So I'm going to go to developer.amazon.com, and while I'm there, I'm going to go to the display design tool. So I'll come in here to Alexa. We'll go to Alexa Skills Kit. And I have my Star Wars Databank skill. We're going to go ahead and edit this. I could also work on icons and stuff, but that doesn't feel like it's interesting to do on screen. So we'll focus on right now. We're going to go to this display tool. And what this is going to do is ask me what I want my layout to look like. So primarily, I want just a big image, and then I also want a little bit of room for some text. And it kind of feels like this is a pretty close approximation of what I want. So if we look at what they have here, they have a background image, they have an icon for the skill, which is not that one. How do I get just this image? Can I get just that? That's all just considered Alexa header, huh? What if we take that and put it in the garbage? Then what happens? That moves my image up. Well, I don't know that I wanted to do that. Proceed, that's fine. We're going to go back to that original layout that we had. By the way, there is chat here. If anyone's watching or has any questions or thoughts, please feel free to join me here in the chat. I can say good morning. In case any of you are here and interested in having a conversation, I would love to hear what you're thinking or thoughts or opinions or questions or whatever you have, because it helps me really solidify my thoughts. So please feel free to chime in if you have something to say. So I need to look at what Alexa header is, because this seems to have a bunch of interesting data. So I would want this to be the name of my character. So it might be Boba Fett, like that. That would look pretty good. I also need the background image, which is not that. Is it this? I would want this background image to just be something, well, maybe a star field. Let's go see if we can find, I have a great website for getting free images. It's called Pexels, and these are really free images. There's no royalty or anything on them. So let's do stars. Yeah, that's what I'm looking for. And so I want a very Star Wars-y one. This one looks pretty good. All right, let's download this bad boy. Block, I don't want to do any of that. I want to set a link back to this photo. I don't really have a way to do that with voice, so I apologize, Francesco. I just want to download. And can I download? Always allow to download multiple files, I guess. I don't know what I'm signing up for here, but we'll find out. Free download. Okay, that's all fine with me. So we'll go to downloads, save that, and then I'm going to need to throw that up into my S3 bucket. So we'll go drop an image up there that will be available to us on the web, so we can use this as our background, and I'll probably end up using this quite a bit. And I have a thing in here called Star Wars Databank, and I'll need to create a new folder because I have the crawls and the trailers and some other sounds. I added a sound effect for Chewbacca, and I'll probably have more of those. So sounds feels fine. I don't know that I want to. I'm just going to create a folder called art. That feels fine. And then in here I can have another folder that is backgrounds, and these will be background images that I use for any of the APL stuff that I'm doing. I could also use these same images for the web or other things like that, but this will be fine. So I have background, and then inside background I'm going to upload that new image that I just put in there, and I'll probably rename it once I have it. So we'll go to downloads, Starry Sky, and next. And I always want to make sure this stuff is public because it needs to be accessible publicly. And all of this is fine. So we upload our image. It's a big image. Probably should have shrunk it down. 3 meg. Well, until it's a problem, I'm not going to fix it. So we're going to come into actions, and we're going to do rename, and we're going to do Starfield. 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 And now that we've done that, I have a link to that image, which is here. Copy the link address, and then we come back to the design that we were doing, and the source for this image is going to be that. And apparently I've broken everything now. Well, that wasn't the image then, huh? What is this one? What is this one? That's the background image. So what did I break? Well, that's interesting. All right. I don't know what I broke. This image will be the background. And that looks like stars. I like that. And then I need to hello, Mpuim? Yeah, I'm gonna go with Mpuim. I don't know if that's the right pronunciation, but we'll go with it. Hello from Spain. Hello from the United States. I'm glad you're here joining me. I hope that you'll also learn something. We're here building some stuff for Alexa, and I'm glad that you're here. Okay, so the other thing that I wanted to do was grab my image of Boba Fett, just as an example, but all my images will have to fit in the same format. So we'll go grab the Boba Fett image, which is this one. If I open this up, this has a path. No, I didn't want that. I just want a path to the image, which I don't know how to do. We'll just copy image address. That should work. And then we're going to come back in here, and we're going to take this image, which is that one, and make that Boba Fett. Oh, that looks so good. Okay, so I feel really good about this right now. So what is this image? What happens if I just delete it? What did I lose? Why was it there if I didn't need it? What is this Alexa header? Let's delete that. Didn't need it. All right, so then this Alexa header has, what if I say there's no image for this? That goes away. I love all of this. This is working out very well. So now we're in a position where we have a template that I really like. Man, that looks really good. Okay, so now I just need to download this thing that I created, this JSON file, So we'll call this, what do I want to call this? Uh, primary image .json. So where we're going to go with this one is in the Star Wars Databank thing that I have inside my Lambda, inside custom. I have a folder called APL, and this is where I keep my APL documents. So I have one for video player, and we'll call this one primary image, and I'm not keeping to any kind of naming convention, but that's okay. Wow, that looks really good. I'm pretty excited. Now it'll all depend on the images that I have. They're not all this clean and perfect, but that one looks just top notch. So, right. So now we're going to go over to our code, which is here, and we already have the place where we respond to the user with the information that we want. What we don't do is do anything with APL. So the trick with APL is that we have to verify a few things. So I'm gonna have to I have to check and make sure that an image actually exists, and then I also have to make sure that they can display an image, because I would not want to send an APL response to a user that does not have a device using APL, because it will break. So I have to do that detection myself. So just in some pseudocode here, I'm going to write if the user, well, let's start with if the data has an image. And then in here, I'm going to say if the user's device can show an image, then send APL document. And I don't think there's anything else that I need. Oh, you know what we could do else? I'll do otherwise. Otherwise, send a card to their app. Yeah, that's my pseudocode explanation for what I'm going to do here. So the first thing that I need to do is check and see if I have an image, and the way that I know I have I only got the item speech. I knew this was going to burn me eventually, because I only have the speech, and I really don't only want the speech. I want more than that. But I do all of the grabbing of slots and everything. Man, I really consolidated too much. So I need to be better about this. How can I be better about this? So I think instead of calling it get item speech, what I really want to do is call it get item. Because I still am fine getting all the stuff, but I want the whole data object. I don't want part of the data object. And so I pass in handler input, and then I'm getting the name of the intent that I'm in so that I know what table to use. So all of that is great, but now I need to go down to get item speech, because I'm going to have to convert how this function works. Thankfully, it's not used much anywhere else. So get item speech is now going to become get item. And then I'm going to take a lot of this other function out and I'll have to break it into another thing, which is get speech from item or something like that. But we'll worry about that later. So what I want to do is figure out, where do I get my actual item? And that happens right here. But the trick that I have is that there's the possibility that I could have multiple values that are returned, right? They could say something like Skywalker, and then I have to figure out, did you mean Anakin Skywalker or did you mean Luke Skywalker? Man. So I have my spoken words, I have my resolve words. I probably don't need the action query in here. I think we could probably take this out. Refactoring is some of my favorite stuff. Hopefully we get rid of some code as we go through this. All right, item description. Well, we have action query right here anyway, so I don't know what necessarily the point of that was, but we're gonna be changing a lot of this. So var item equals await get item, and we're gonna get the item. So let's come back down to where we were, and we're gonna look at get item. And the thing that I really want to do is just I hate to move all this stuff out, but I think I'm going to have to. There's got to be a way to do this without separating both pieces. The trick that I'm fighting through right now is that if there are multiple resolutions, so something like the Skywalker example I just used, I don't want to go to my database. I don't want to make calls. I don't want to go get any of the information that I need about a specific thing. What I want to do is say to the user, hey, I found more than one thing. Which one do you want? And I'm prompting them to ask again. So there's no point in making a database call. There's no point in doing any of that stuff. So I can't return an item from get item just like that. So, okay, we're going to back all this up, and then maybe, like, once we back this stuff out, then it will be pretty easy, I think, to determine what we can refactor. So in here, I'm logging the thing, and then the very first things that I want to do are get my spoken words and my resolved words, and I don't have a thing called table anymore. What I have is this. So we're gonna create a variable called table, because I use those all over the place. Our table equals, and that's the name of our table. We could even do a 2 lowercase right there, so that I don't have to do it in these other places. So we'll get rid of that, and we'll get rid of this. And then this is a thing I will need eventually. But now I need different data to put in there. So we're going to just comment this out so it's not pretending to be real code. Okay, so I have my spoken words and my resolved words, and these are good to have because I never know what the user is going to say. And for the resolved words, I need to do something more meaningful. No, I don't. I just want to get the resolved words. That's what that function does. I'm trying to talk myself into more complexity. So I had a check down here in the original function, which was if resolved words isn't undefined, and if its length is greater than 1. Let's just take this whole thing. Right. I remember I was talking with you folks the last time when we were building this item description handler, and how I felt like I had refactored too much and consolidated too much, and now we're hitting it. So I've got those, and I've got this piece here. So if resolved words is undefined, then we didn't find a match, and we want to say, I didn't find a match. But you can ask me about a character or a species or a vehicle or whatever. And then I tack on my action query, which is below this. So let's move that up. That goes right like that. Okay, so that gets me my action query, and that's all well and good. So that's if I don't resolve anything. Hopefully that won't happen too often. What if they hit this intent but don't match anything? That is what this is supposed to be, but I want to change this comment to now be to do log this entry to review spoken words that don't seem to match anything. All right, so that's a note for myself that, like, by the way, hey, if we hit this case, we should probably log that stuff so that we can look at it later and be like, oh, they said a thing that we weren't expecting, or they said Skywalker, but we didn't interpret it properly, or whatever. Okay, so that's if we don't find any resolved matches. If we do, and it's greater than 1, then I want to say, hey, I found 4 possible matches for whatever you said. Again, they're spoken words. Did you mean? And then I have a function called getResolvedValueString where I'm going to pass in resolved words, and it's going to create a nice string for me. It'll, like, if it was Skywalker, for example, it would say, did you mean Luke Skywalker or Anakin Skywalker? Or Shmi Lars Skywalker, right? Any of those could potentially be an answer. And so it'll just create that nice sentence where it says item 1, item 2, or item 3 with commas and breaks and all that. I've got that all working, so that's fine. This is the big one here, though. This is where I get my item, and I'm getting the actual data values from my item. So this is where I go out to the database and I actually retrieve the thing that I need. And then I get its voice description here. And if there isn't any description, then I say I don't have any information about this character or droid or whatever yet. My data is still being completed. My apologies. And then I say speech is you asked me about whatever the thing resolved to, then description, which is where description would be, or I'd make description this thing. I don't have any information on that. And then I say action query. So this all feels okay. I think that I just don't need get item anymore because I'm kind of already doing that in line here. So I have if the data has an image, but this all lives now in this one case, which is here. The Lord of Sound, yes, it is cold here. It is now up to 20 degrees, but it was 11 earlier, and so yeah, it's very cold here. And I'm standing right next to a window, so I felt like today was a beanie kind of day. It may become a hood kind of day. Like we'll fill it all in, but furnace is working fine. Just especially when I have the door closed to keep sound out and stuff, it gets a little cold in here sometimes. So this is the logic. I'm not normally a beanie guy. I do own a few, but not something I wear that often. Send APL document, and then we have our otherwise send a card to their app. So this is the logic that we now need to execute on. We figured out what we're going to say, but we need to do some things with the description or the image. So the first thing first, let's go look and see what we call that column. So if we come back here and we say, thank you, I think I look awesome. It's weird not having ears. I feel like I just have this big round head, but it's fine. I call it image. How very, very convenient. And there's some tricks to this that I'm probably going to have to figure out because I don't know exactly what the JSON's going to look like this, because I can have multiple images, so it's probably some kind of array. So we'll have to jump into my logs to see exactly how that's going to work. But we know that we're going to say if, well, let's just do var image equals item.fields.image. But I want to know the whole thing, so I should probably look at the log. I think I can. Alexa, open Star Wars Databank.
I am AL3XA, Human Cyborg Relations. How may I be of assistance?
Tell me about Boba Fett.
You asked me about Boba Fett. With his customized Mandalorian armor, deadly weaponry, and silent demeanor, Boba Fett was one of the most feared bounty hunters in the galaxy. A genetic clone of his father, bounty hunter Jango Fett,
Alexa,
Boba
stop.
learned combat.
Okay, that got the data I need, so I can go check
Goodbye.
that in the logs in a second. Lord of Sound, the question you have related to Android chat. Yeah, no, I totally understand the problem you're having. I would make the argument to them. I would push back to certification and say, no, this is the name of my company. I've had it for 20 years. You might even send them a link to proof or evidence of that if there's some state document or something that indicates that, like, no, this is actually the name of my business, I'm sure they think that you're talking about Android, the operating system, and of course, you would not be able to do that. So that would be my recommendation: is you can push back to CERT and just say, no, 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 this is the case. You would just do it in another certification, but leave it in the beginning of your testing notes. I was declined because of this case, and here is the reason why that should not be the case. You're misinterpreting my intentions, and hopefully that will work. They may still have issue with it, but I think that'll be good. Hey, I want to check one more thing on Twitch here. I just got a message from my good friends in Europe that said they're going to start office hours, and they're doing that on Amazon Alexa.
No buts.
I'm pretty sure that they're just hosting me there, and that I'm not actually broadcasting. Yeah, it's hosting me, so that's totally fine. That's great news. So I was worried that maybe I was broadcasting on the Alexa channel, which would be less good. But it is actually, that's fine. So they can start hosting whenever. So I'm going to go on camera just for a second. I'm going to jump into corporate chat world here for a moment. It's just hosting me. You can stream on the Alexa channel whenever you're ready. I'm streaming from this is the problem with working with a distributed team. Sometimes we don't all, if I do HTTP colon, we don't always catch all the little nuances of things like this, and so I can totally understand why they think that I'm broadcasting on the Alexa channel right now, but it's actually that the Alexa channel is hosting my own channel, and that's how that works. So yeah, they'll start streaming there, and if you are watching on the Alexa channel and you want to continue seeing what I'm doing, feel free to jump over to my channel directly. And if you want to stick around for the Spanish language office hours that they'll be offering here in just a few minutes, then stay at the Alexa channel, and that's the place for you. But it should be no worries, yeah. And we'll be off and running. So I'm gonna make sure that they know what's going on. Okay. Sorry. All right, so we are back. The next thing that I wanted to do is go to CloudWatch and look at my logs. I just asked it about, I'm going to leave it on camera just for a second because I always end up revealing my keys, and then I have to go change them. So let me just bring this up, and I'll get us to a point where we don't see any keys. Character intent. Okay, we're in a good spot now. So this is my CloudWatch logs, and you can see in here that I have these thumbnails. So I have image, which is a property, and then that is an array, and then each item has all of this other stuff. And the thing that I really care about, what is the right, I want the full image. And I don't know that I need any of the other stuff. I really feel like I could chop some of that stuff off, but man. Okay, so do I want to piece together this URL, or do I just want to use it as is? I think I'm going to use the URL. So it's going to be image0.url is all I really need. I think that'll be okay. Lord of Sound, I will look at showing you exactly how I pull from the Airtable database. I would be happy to do that. The trick is, in order to do it the way that I'm doing it, I would have to reveal my secret key, which I obviously don't want to do. So we'll have to figure out a way to do that appropriately. But yeah, I would be happy to show you at least the code and how I do that stuff. It's pretty straightforward. So image0.url is the thing that I need. So this is going to be image0.url, like so. Okay. But I can't just do that, because this will break if there isn't an image for that thing, which I suppose is possible. So I need to wrap this in a condition that says if item.fields dot image isn't undefined, then we can start doing the stuff that we need to do. Okay, so we're getting there. Chop this out, paste this here. Now I have an image. I can refer to my image. I'm assuming that if the image property exists, that I have an image in there. So all of that is good, and it'll have a URL. So if the data has an image, and is that kind of what I did? I kind of just did that. So this is my if data has an image. Now I need to check and see, does the user's device show an image? And this is, again, me checking to see if they support APL. So I have to explore this because I don't remember the answer. What's the right way to do this? I guess I could go back to my log here and look at the request envelope. And in here I could see if they support APL at all. That's probably the right way to do this, which is this piece here. And I've done this before, actually, so I don't like to rewrite code or rethink through code if I've written it and it works. So I did this in the trivia game, I'm pretty sure. So find APL. So I have a function called add APL in here, and this this is the piece that I want right here. If they support APL, then we can do it. I'm gonna do this in a nicer way. So we'll take this, and then we're gonna build the function that I've built for a bunch of stuff for detection, which is much safer than that. They end up looking like these functions here. Well, I have some other, like, supports video, supports APLT. We'll do one more that is function supports APL. And we'll have to pass in handler input to be able to check this. And then this is the thing, so if this thing, copy, and then right here I'm going to do and paste it again, and so that will work. So the first thing that I want to do is if handler input, so we can take all of this away, and then I'm just going to take this line, copy it, paste it a bunch of times, and then this one will be request envelope, so I can just take all of that off, and then this one will be context, take all that off, and this one will be system, take all that off, and this will be all device, and this will be supported interfaces, and then I'll check the array for APL. So that was almost the right amount of copy paste, which is good. So bring back my thing, and then right here we can say return true. So what I've done is I've basically stepped through this, and the reason for this is I pass in handler input. If at any point any of these nodes don't exist, which is certainly possible, then it'll fail and it'll return false, which I did not write yet. So let's do that. Return false. If any of those fail, then it returns false. And you have to do them in this order because otherwise you could end up with a true case. I'm sorry, you could end up with an error because you're checking something that doesn't exist. So it does them in order, and so it'll never encounter something that doesn't exist. When the first one fails, it'll be false, but we're not checking too deep, which would cause an error. It will return false. So I'm now checking to see whether or not it supports APL, which is great. And then up here, where we're working, if I can get there, we have, if they have an image, now I need to say if supports APL, handler input. And these little helper functions that I'm writing, I'm going to have to submit these to the SDK because it just seems like it would make a lot of sense to have these all built in so that no one has to build them themselves. Okay, so that's going to be true or false if supports APL. And if it does, then we want to send an APL document. And this is going to require some deconstruction of this. So this piece we're going to start building much earlier. We've done this in other places. We'll build it up here, and it'll be called var rb equals handler.response builder. So this is just us referencing the object response builder, which is the thing that we send back at the end. And then here I can say return rb. And everything will work fine. That's all well and good, but what I want to do in here is be able to add to RB, and so I have to break it out that way in order to be able to refer to it. So now I want to send an APL document that is the image template that we just used. So I have this in the trailer. I already have some of this logic, right? So I take this chunk here, and we're going to take that same chunk up here. And this is where I start to say, like, send APL. Like, I want to create a function that does this for me. And this time we don't want video player though, right? We wanted the new file that we named, which in our APL file is primary image.json, which I didn't really care to open, but that's all right. So we're going to change this to primary image.json, and then the name of that image, I guess I did need to open it. We need to look at what the path to that image is. So everything about it's really going to stay the same. There's two things that I really need. The star field's fine. I need this header title. So we need to go through document. So we're going to say here apl.document.main template. All of that is good. apl.document.main template. And then in here I have parameters. I don't care about that. I care about items 0 because there's only one, I think. No. Oh, I see. We're probably going to want to do both because I have a specific template for. Maybe I just don't care about this. This is conditional for when we're using an echo spot, but maybe I can just say do it all the time. I can always fix that later. So I have the background. That's good. I have header title. So I'm still in items 0 dot items 0. So we have two of those. Item 0 dot items 0, and then in here, no, it's not item 0, it's items 1 dot header title. So this is going to be items 1. Whoa, that's a lot of capitalization. Let's try that again. Header title. Okay, and then I need this to be the my actual item. So this is going to be item.fields.name. Is that what I call that? Name. Always good to check. So we look at this. Data, name. Okay, so because I want these nice formatted names that I have here on the left-hand side. Okay, that's good. So item.fields.name. And then I'll have another one, which is back into our JSON. And it's going to be items 2 dot items 0 dot source. So this one will be items 2 dot items 0 dot source. Don't love this structure, but it is what it is. And this is going to be image because, well, not even all this. It's just going to be image, like the thing that we created up here, because that'll be the path to that. In fact, that's already the worst name ever. So let's change this to image URL. And down here, this will be image URL. And then all of that should just work. So the other thing we want to do is send a card if they don't support this. So if we have if supports APL here, else this is where I want to send a card. And I think I can just do rb.with simple. See, just never remember any of this context, syntax, anything. So let's do Alexa skill simple.
I've got a few skill categories for you to choose from,
Alexa,
like
quit.
best on screen.
Okay, so in here, I think we have the Java Node SDK. This is perfect. Not with simple card. I want the more complex card. I don't want that. That's the link account card. I don't want that either. Where's the example that has just the standard card? With simple card, standard card. And it's with, right? With simple card, with standard card. Seems like that should just be available in the SDK. With standard card. Cool, that's the thing that I wanted. So this will be item.fields.name. Then we have card content, which is a string. Don't really want anything for that, so I'm just going to put an empty string. And then image URL, image URL. Okay, so if they don't have a display, then we're going to write a card. So we'll test this a couple of times. But that should all work. So I can get rid of this chunk because I've done all my pseudo logic. And then, yeah, I think this will just work. Let's, excuse me. Man, okay. So let's do some Lambda deployment and drink a little water. And then as soon as this is done, I'm going to go back to Lord of Sound's question, where I actually show you how I talk to my database. Because you can see it's pretty simple. I do things like this now. Get specific data by ID. I call this simple function. This is calling all the way out to my database, and all I have to do is tell it what word I resolved, right? Like, this is powerful stuff. But it's required me to iterate and grow as I go through all of this stuff, and so I've learned a lot as I've gone. Okay, let's see how our skill works here first on a display, and then we'll see how it works without. Alexa, open Star Wars Databank.
I am AL3XA, Human-Cyborg Relations. What else can I provide information about?
Boba Fett.
You asked me about Boba Fett. With his customized Mandalorian armor, deadly weaponry, and silent demeanor, Boba Fett was one of the most feared bounty hunters in the galaxy.
Alexa, stop.
A genetic... Goodbye.
Alright, that didn't really work. Did it write a card? Let's take a look and see if it wrote a card. I'm going to go to the Alexa app, And in there's a activity tab. Hey, Brendan Enrick, how are you, man? I'm going to activity. Thank you for joining me. It, in fact, also didn't write a card, so now I'm really curious to see what it wrote. So we're going to jump to camera view here, and I'm going to jump into my logs. Good to hear that you're doing well. Thank you for joining me here. It's always fun to have a friend tag along and watch. So I want to see character intent. Is this where I asked for Boba Fett? This is, in fact, where I asked for Boba Fett. So what did I send back? I sent nothing back. So, all right, that might be the reason. So now we're going to do a little bit of logging. So let's jump back into our code and take a look at logging some of this so we can see what's actually... I know there's a background hum. I'm trying to get rid of it. My machine is chugging, trying to stream at this resolution and stuff, which I know is more frames and higher resolution than probably is necessary, but it's nice to be able to do 60 frames a second. But that's I know there's a hum, and I'm about to build a sound wall around my PC just to prevent that. But okay, so we're gonna do a little logging here to see what's happening. Okay, so let's start here and just see what we're missing out on. Console log, about to get an image. And then inside we have, there was an image available. And then in here, we can say device supports APL. And then that should add our directive and all that stuff. Otherwise, we can say no APL, only cards. And that should do it. So somehow we didn't hit any of that stuff, though, which feels really weird. Get resolved words. I feel like I would also really like to see what get resolved words is doing, because I'm pretty dependent on that. So let's do... Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. All right, well, let's just give that a try first before we worry about... so we'll deploy a little code, and once we've done this, then we should be able to see pretty quickly what's falling apart, why we're not actually showing an image. I guess you guys can see what I'm doing right now. All right. So the code only takes a second or two to push up to the clouds, and as soon as that's ready, we'll give it another run. I didn't get any errors, though, which is good. It just didn't do any of this stuff, which feels weird to me. Alexa, ask Star Wars Databank about Boba Fett.
You asked me about Boba Fett. With his customized Mandalorian armor,
Alexa,
deadly
stop.
Weaponry. Goodbye.
Okay, so that didn't work. I'm gonna go look at my logs and make sure I don't reveal any secret keys or anything. I'm good at that. Character intent, response builder. It's literally hitting none of that. It's very odd. How could I get none of those console log statements that I just wrote? What am I doing wrong here? So I come in and I say, here's the name of my table. Here's my spoken words. Here's my resolved words. And we're giving a response. I mean, we're definitely responding to the user. I think I can show this here. So if we look at our response builder, this is the response that's going back to the user. We're providing output speech and we're providing reprompt. But we're not doing any of the other stuff that I'm expecting. That feels very odd to me. I'm going to dig in here. Time for the chair. Okay, so as we look at this, RB and everything that's here is being used. Did I log the intent? Yeah, character intent. So I logged that. Where else could I be? Let's put another obvious one, just to make sure that I'm in the right code, because I did have some issues yesterday where I blew away the entire repo, and checking resolve words. Let's just do that one and see what we get out of this, because my concern right now is that it's not actually hitting this code base, and that all these changes I'm making aren't actually going where I think they're going. But we'll find that out right now, because we're definitely coming into this function because this is happening. This is the log of the intent name. It's very, very odd. I don't know why this isn't working. All right, Alexa, ask Star Wars Databank about Boba Fett.
You asked me about Boba Fett. With his customized
Alexa,
Mandalorian armor.
So I have to do this just because I do tend to log some things I don't want you to see. All right, I have the latest. And it appears that I'm not pushing to the right source, because that change is not being reflected here. Well, how do I fix that? And where am I actually pushing this if not? Goodness, this is a curious one. What did I break? All right, so let's go look at my lambda function. Goodness, this is quite a surprise. I was not expecting to have my code just not going to the right place, but that's at least what I've convinced myself is happening right now. So if I come into lambda, go to this one. This was last modified 2 minutes ago. Okay, so what does that mean? It means I am updating the code, but that somehow my lambda what could possibly be going on here that I'm not seeing? Handler input.response builder. Let's try that. I want to see the changes I'm making reflected, and I don't feel like I'm getting that right now. 7287 is the address here, and that's the address here. Man, we're pointing to the right place. We're changing the code in the right place. Why are these changes not being reflected? Quick story while we wait for this. I had an experience like this early in my career that really scarred me for life. I was working at Abercrombie & Fitch on their e-commerce team. I was one of 4 people that ran their entire web operation around the holidays. And we were making some changes. This was way before you had really reliable source control or anything like that. We really were using FTP windows to open access to servers, and then we would just drop files in the right place. Horribly terrible practices looking back on it, but it was how they did things back then. This was 2002, 2003. Anyway, I was working on some stuff, and my boss came over and asked me to make a change to production. They found a typo. So I opened an FTP window to production, and I pulled the file down, and I fixed the typo, and then I pushed the file back up, and all was well and good. And I went back to working on the holiday release stuff that I had been working on. And I'm making changes, and I'm throwing my code into the FTP window, and loading my browser, and I'm not seeing any changes. So I'm doing what I'm doing right now, right? I'm adding log statements and alerts and all sorts of stuff, and just changing background colors, anything to really see a change reflected. And nothing's happening. And all of a sudden, in the distance, I can see my boss just running to my desk. What happened? I hadn't closed that FTP window from that minor change we were making in production. And I had been pushing all of my development changes directly to the production distribution, which obviously broke the live website. It was down for almost an hour before we realized what had happened. And so I'm really gun shy about making sure that my code is going to the appropriate location. And she better say this statement right here now when I ask her for something. So let's see if that happens. Alexa, ask Star Wars Databank about Boba Fett.
You asked me about Boba Fett. With his customized Mandalorian armor, deadly weaponry,
Nope.
and silent demeanor, Boba Fett was one of the most feared bounty hunters in the galaxy.
Alexa, stop.
A genetic clone. Goodbye.
Do I have any aliases set up on this? Doesn't appear that I do. I don't understand. This makes no sense to me whatsoever. How is it possible that I'm pushing new code up, but it's not changing anything? I'm pushing to the right place. I've made a change that is very clearly overriding the behavior I would expect. What? I'm stumped. Do you guys have an idea here? This is quite good. Whatever I've done. I have my skill JSON pointing to Star Wars Databank. I know I'm pushing to the right place. This is the address. If we look at this, US East 1 6791. US East 1 6791 8030 7287 function Star Wars Databank. All of that is proper and correct, and that's exactly where it's pushing my code. I'm not getting any errors. Can we just do open skill.json? Oh. Open config. Nope, not there. That's not what I wanted. I throw it away? What did I break? Oh, because it's in.ask. Is this pointing to the wrong place? I'm glad you guys are having fun at my expense right now. Skill ID. That's probably what I screwed up. So let's go to the dev portal. Again, this is all stuff that could be fixed and just isn't. Let's go in here. Let's find the right skill ID. Make sure that's not my issue. View skill ID. This ends in 2A0. What I'm working on ends in 2A0. This is the appropriate lambda. This is the right name. What? Well, I didn't expect to beat my head against the wall today, guys. I thought we were going to build some cool stuff. Show some images off, something like that. I don't know where I'm pushing my code if it's not to the right place. Is there another function? I guess we'll see here in a second as we push the lambda up. If that time changes, then I don't know. I'm lost. Take this. This is the right code I want, so I'm just going to copy this, and we're just going to close. We're going to quit Visual Studio Code. We're going to get all the way out, because I did blow a bunch of stuff away, so I mean, I wanted to check and see if this got updated too. 8 minutes ago. What if I refresh this? Eight minutes ago, so I didn't even push the change, which I guess I don't care. My code installation appears to be corrupt. That's also great. Lambda, index. Is this the version I'm expecting to see? Come on. Yeah. Update now. Let's reboot it again. Man, this is frustrating. And not how I wanted to spend my morning. Okay. So we're all good there. Let's go open a new terminal. We're in the right place. Don't care about that right now. What we need to do is an ask deploy force. We're just going to shove everything up there again as we have it here. what this is going to get me to do is completely blow this away and clone, and then re-implement my changes. But that annoys me to no end because it changes a bunch of stuff. Model deployment is finished. Updating Lambda function. And I did a force, so we shouldn't worry about e-tags or any timestamps or anything like that. This should just allow me to do what I want to do. Okay, so the first thing I want to see is, did the Lambda get updated? If I refresh this page, 10 seconds ago. So the Lambda definitely got updated with my latest code. That I feel very confident about. And in here, if we hit the handle, we should say character intent, and then we should say checking resolved words. There's nothing that should get in between those two things before we do all the other stuff. So Alexa, open Star Wars Databank. Alexa, open Star Wars Databank.
I am AL3XA, Human Cyborg
Alexa.
Relations.
C3PO.
Jeff is an idiot.
Oh my gosh, you are correct. So I don't know what we did
Jeff
differently
is an
there.
idiot.
Quit. Well, that's great. I'm glad that you think I'm an idiot, because that means I'm doing something right. So okay, awesome. So boy, I'm like crazy excited now. So let's go back to deploying just the Lambda. This. I've replaced my speech, and I should have waited to see if she showed an image. Let me look in the cards too. She did not write a card. So, but there was an APL device, so it shouldn't have written a card. Alexa, open Star Wars Databank.
I am AL3XA, Human Cyborg Relations. What else can I provide information about?
Boba Fett.
You asked me about Boba Fett. With his customized
Nice.
Mandalorian armor,
Look.
deadly weaponry, and
Look
silent
right
demeanor,
there. I
Boba
guess
Fett
right
was one of the most
there.
feared bounty hunters in the galaxy.
There.
A genetic clone of his father, bounty hunter Jango Fett, Boba learned combat and martial skills from a young age. Over the course of his career,
That's so cool.
which included contracts for the Empire and the criminal underworld, he became a legend.
Let's try another
What
one.
else can I provide information about?
C3PO.
You asked me about C3PO. C3PO
Nice.
is a droid programmed for etiquette and protocol,
Alexa,
built by
quit.
the heroic jet.
Oh, those look really good. All right, so I don't know what changed. I don't know what I figured out. I'm going to try it on this one. I think you can see this on the screen. We'll see what it looks like on the bigger device. Alexa, ask Star Wars Databank about 21B.
I found two possible matches for 21B. Did you mean 21B or G21B7?
21B.
I found two possible matches for 21B.
All right,
Did you mean 21B or G21B7?
Darth Vader.
You asked me about Darth Vader. Once a heroic Jedi Knight,
That looks
Darth
cool.
Vader was seduced by the dark
So I know it's
side
not
of the
really
Force,
close, but I've got
became
my
Sith Lord,
Starfield.
and led the
I've got
Empire's
the big Darth Vader
eradication of
image.
the
I've got
Jedi Order.
the title
He
there.
remained in service of the Emperor, the evil Darth Sidious, for decades, enforcing his master's will and seeking to crush the fledgling Rebel Alliance. But there was still good in him. What else can I provide information about?
Watto?
You asked me about Watto. Watto was
Yeah.
a Targaryen junk dealer in Mos
Awesome.
Espa who bought Shmi Skywalker and her son Anakin
Okay.
from Gerdula the
Alexa,
Hutt.
quit.
And
So that's on the big screen and on the little screen. Both of those look really good. So now I'm going to turn on a non-APL device. Ooh, actually, this may be interesting to see what happens. Alexa, ask Star Wars Databank about Boba Fett.
I didn't find a match for Beat Boba Fett, but you can ask about a character, or a species, or a vehicle. For example, what else can I provide information about?
Boba Fett.
You asked me about Boba Fett. With his customized Mandalorian armor, deadly weaponry, and silent demeanor, Boba
yeah.
Fett was one of the most feared bounty hunters in the galaxy.
Alexa,
Genetic cloak.
quit. So you can see at the top of my thing here, apparently we're playing All I Want for Christmas in
How
my
may I
house
be of
today.
assistance?
Quit. You can see that at the top here, I have the title, which is really hard to see. Let's see if we can get closer. There we go. You can see Boba Fett. It gives the name of my skill, and then it shows the image. Now, it's not very big, but it definitely shows it. So I've at least written a card, and I feel like I'm going to take the card one step further. I wasn't going to provide the content, but I think I am. So I'm going to say item.fields.card. What do I call that? If we come back to here, I call my data card description. Okay. So card description. Save that. Man, I really don't know what happened. I don't know why my changes weren't being reflected there. I don't know if that was just an issue with Visual Studio Code or what the problem was, but it's been resolved, and I don't feel like I did anything different. So I'm glad that we got through that. But that was a frustrating 15 minutes of not understanding why something was not working. So now we're gonna we've taken this a step further. We're not only providing the image in the card, but we're also going to provide that whole description as soon as this Lambda updates, and we'll see the next card. Alexa, ask Star Wars Databank about Boba Fett.
You asked me about Boba Fett.
Alexa,
With his
quit. And so now we have a card that looks like that, which is super cool. So now it takes that whole description that I provided for the user. They get that whole description. They can read that. They can see it on their Fire TV and some other interfaces. So that's pretty awesome. I'm pretty happy with that. Okay, we have 18 minutes left. So I want to make sure that I'm getting through this properly because I want to get rid of all these logs. There's no reason to keep that stuff around. That was just nonsense because Visual Studio Code wasn't working, or something wasn't working, but it wasn't. I don't think it was anything I changed, or I would happily take the blame. Okay, and then we save. This is a lot more code than I really wanted this handler to have. But this is really the key to everything is resolved words. I need to know whether we resolved one or more things. If we got 0, this will be undefined. If we got more than 1, then I need to disambiguate. And if we got exactly 1, then I would need to give them the information they're looking for. So I guess it's not too much. It just feels like I could simplify this somehow. The other thing that I wanted to do, and this was in my data, let's go back here, is I have a droid named 21B. He's the medical droid that helps Luke Skywalker when he gets attacked by the Wampa. But there's also this other guy, G21B7, who's a different medical droid. Where does he get used? He's the one keeping Saw Gerrera alive in Rogue One. So he feels like somebody else I'd like to include. I need to figure out how to disambiguate these two, though. How can I... If you say 21B, it's always going to match both. If I say G21B7, that's different. How can I disambiguate by using some synonyms? I don't know the answer to that question. I'm going to have to think about this one. But this is definitely a concern, because I'm only going to end up with more and more data. And especially with the droid names, it's very, very possible that we end up with overlaps. How do I want to handle that? How would you guys handle this, those of you that are skill builders online? I have these two values, 21B and G21B7. And if the user says 21B, they both come back as matches, which I suppose they probably should. It's also possible that I just don't include G21B7. Here, let's see how this works. Alexa, open Star Wars Databank.
I am AL3XA, Human Cyborg Relations. What else can I provide information about?
21B.
I found two possible matches for 21B. Did you mean 21B or G21B7?
21B.
I found two possible matches for
Yeah, that's gonna
21B.
be an issue.
Did you mean 21B or G21B7?
G21B7.
We had a slight weapons malfunction, but everything's perfectly all right now.
Okay.
We're fine.
Alexa, quit.
We're all fine.
So I disabled the thing, but that doesn't take it out of the interaction model. So that's not going to be great. All right, I'm going to have to think on that. Okay, so the last thing that I'll do, I guess, with my last 10 minutes is the Lord of Sound has been very patient and asked some questions about how I talk to this database. So there's a couple of ways to do this. The first is I'm going to go to the Airtable API and just show you what this looks like. So if I come in here and I go to data, this is the same table we've been looking at, but this is the basically the docs, the API for that. And so I can come in and see like the character table, and then it gives me all of these example values. Now this all uses their SDK, and so as you'll see in here, if I go to like retrieve a record, this is me retrieving a record using the SDK. I have to fill in my API key here. This is the address of my database, basically. And then I say, hey, look in the table character, find this ID, and return it to me. And then so it gets this record value that it can return to me. I don't like this. It's a lot of code. It's a lot of initialization just to do all this stuff every time that I need to talk to a table. Which is why, because my primary function in all of this is retrieval of data rather than creating, updating, or deleting, I do this differently than I do everything else. This is a very convenient format for when I want to create a new record or like log something to my database or something like that. But it's not good for me grabbing the records. And so what I do instead, as I'll show you in my code, is I have this thing here, which was get specific data by ID. So you can see here that I'm passing in the ID of the record I want and the name of the table. Those are the two values that I pass to this function. And if I go to the definition for that, you can see it's pretty simple. I'm making an HTTP GET function call, which I'll show you in a second, but it's very, very straightforward, standard HTTP call. In here, I'm passing in the secret key for talking to my Airtable data table, and then I additionally pass it a filter. And this filter gets tacked onto that URL to filter down the data that I actually want. And so I don't want any data that's been disabled, and I want something that matches the exact record ID that I provided it, which is this ID here. And you should always encode all your URI components because it's just safe. And then I pass in the table name. So in my function, this HTTP GET, go look at this. It's pretty straightforward. All I do is define a set of options, which are here. And this is what is the URL of the thing, that's the host. What port do I want to do this on? This makes it HTTPS. And then this is the rest of the API call. So this is the name of my data table. I'm sorry, my database. This is the name of the table inside there. This is how I pass my API key. And then at the very end, I tack on the filter that I passed in. And when you looked at the filter, if we go back to that function, you can see that I start with an ampersand because it just tacks it on as query string variables, right? So I can pass all of that stuff through here, and I tell it that I just want to do a get, and then it just uses a promise to call out to that thing. It chunks the data up, so as it continues to receive data, it continues to chunk it. Once we get to the end of that thing, then it goes ahead and it resolves all the data that we've returned so far, and returns that back to the thing that I'm doing. And that, in this case, that would be the entire JSON document that I've requested. So this function here, I didn't even write this. This is very, very standard. The comments in there are things that I wrote, and I've created the signature here to say this is the data that the things that I want to pass in to create all of my options. But you could just as easily hard code all these values if it doesn't change for you. It just happens to change quite often for me. I'm always talking to a different table or a different database or something like that. So this gives me some flexibility. But that's all I'm really doing. This HTTP GET function, if you look at the HTTP, I have it included here at the top, this HTTPS node module, their sample function is exactly, that's exactly where I got it from. So I'm not reinventing the wheel on how I talk to the internet. I'm just using their NPM package to do so. So down here at the very bottom, you'll see that I call here somewhere. I call this HTTPS. This is their node module. So I'm just using a few built-in functions that they have built into their module, and we're off and running. So that is how that's how I make all of my calls. So I use this HTTP GET as my base, and then everything that goes to get data starts like this. Go get the thing, then I know I'm going to get response.records as my return value as an array, and I can either take the first one, which is 0, or in some cases I will get a random item out of that list, which is when I'm grabbing speech from, for example, my data table. If I come back here and I look at the speech table, I know I've talked about this before, but it's a good way to wrap up. All of my welcomes and goodbyes and things like that, I don't have any goodbyes yet, but all of my welcomes are like, I am AL3XA human cyborg relations. I'll eventually have 10 or 20 of these, and in that case, it just randomly, it grabs this data, randomly selects one, and returns it to me. So this is how I structure everything with Airtable. It's a very easy way to kind of call out, manipulate the data that I need, and in most cases just grab the data that I need, and then I can make a random selection from there. So it's pretty lightweight. It sends a JSON file over that's nicely formatted, so it's pretty easy to play with. I'm really happy with where I'm at in the Airtable world. I know there's 1,000 other data options I probably could use, but this seems to serve my purposes pretty well, and it allows other people that aren't as technical as me to be able to interact and play with this data also. So I think with that, I'm going to wrap up here. I don't have a lot more that I want to cover. We've got images now showing every time we talk about a character, which is super cool. And then I think what we'll work on Friday is revisiting the APL for the trailers and crawls so that we get triggered when the video ends and we can do some stuff like that. The other big piece is, of course, the game part of this skill. Excuse me. And there's still a lot to figure out about how exactly I want to do that. Do I want to rewrite all of the data? Because we're eventually going to end up with thousands of data points. Or do we want to just do it as clues based on the metadata that I have? So if we go back to the metadata that I have, so all of these associations. So if I come to like a character, I could ask you. I could say they're affiliated with Crimson Dawn. They were in the movie Solo, and their species is Hylaban. I don't know if that's enough. I feel like there needs to be a little bit more. That is some kind of description. So, yeah, we'll see. Maybe I could pull in things like that. Oh, they were played by this person, but I think that gets messy too. So there's lots to figure out about the game side of this. I still need to think about. But for the functionality, I think we're in a really good place. We're able to ask about any of these items. We can now show the image if there is one. We can give the description if there is one. We can play trailers and we can play crawls. So it's starting to feel rich. It's starting to feel like it has some meat to it, which is really good. And so now it's just a matter of filling in some more data and thinking about how we want to make the gameplay. Or if we want to do the gameplay. I don't know. Let me know if you think that's interesting. But for now, I think I'm going to sign off. And we'll catch this again on Friday. So thank you guys all for joining me. Brandonius, Lord of Sound, thank you for the conversation. I know we had a few other people chime in here from Spain. So thank you, welcome, and I'm always happy to continue to do this and have a good conversation with all of you. So thank you for tuning in. I will see you again soon. Bye-bye.